I just saw a Prius that was sold for $27 million. And at the peak, it was actually sold for about $69 million. And I want to talk about that. Talk about some of the key takeaways I got from this Bitcoin conference and some things that you should know, whether you couldn't make it to the conference or whether you are wanting to go to the conference one day. There's some things that I think you should come in expecting and some things that have changed since the last conference. So first of all, the conference was actually still really busy. I was wondering about that because last year it was a bull market and there were about 25,000 people there. However, this year, obviously the price has gone down a lot. There have been a lot of exchanges that have blown up. I thought maybe some people have been washed out and not want to go to this anymore, but they still had about 15,000 people at the conference from what I heard, and it still seemed busy. It wasn't quite as busy, and the amount of money floating around was very different from last year where there were parties all over the place every single night, and they would rent out full rooftop bars, pay for everything, have it catered. Companies were dropping $100,000 a party, $200,000 a party. This year, it was like they would have a party and then you could buy your own drinks. It was very different, but you could still see that there was a lot of fun, a lot of parties going on, a lot of places to meet people. Not all speeches were crypto related. So this changed a little bit in the sense that it seemed like last year it was a lot more, I don't want to say Bitcoin oriented because it's still very Bitcoin oriented and more like a Bitcoin maxi event, but there were people that didn't own crypto, that didn't really believe in crypto, but they had something to do with crypto. And there were a lot of conversations and a lot of speeches that were not just about Bitcoin, right? Like I watched a 20-minute speech on the IMF debt colonialism and how the U.S. basically exploits cheap labor and extracts resources through the IMF. And that was a really interesting speech for me to watch. It kind of gives some background, something that I wouldn't normally watch on YouTube just because that term, IMF debt colonialism, doesn't really mean much to me. But it was something really good to understand the broader picture, what's happening with the IMF and how Bitcoin ties in, basically. There is a currency that is not tied to one central government that could be used to try to get out of this cycle of oppression with the IMF. It's a neutral currency for everyone. Something else that I was reminded of, Bitcoin is really complex. It's different for everyone. For some people, it represents a way out of oppressive governments. For some people, it's just a technology that allows them to transact across the world. For some people, it's a store of wealth. For some people, it's an investment to make them rich. So it's different, but that's why we have such different views on it, even in the community. That's why some people want to sell. That's why some people will never sell, because it, to some people, is almost like a religion. It's an idea, it's punk, it's rebellion, it's fighting the government. So it can get emotional. Like listening to certain speeches, you get emotional, especially with the people that can speak really well, like Jack Mallers. And that's why some people can get irrational too, because it almost feels like you're going against your religion, and we feel that in a lot of different crypto tokens. So the conference is great for more than just information as well. If you're ever thinking about going, you can network, and I think that's the greatest part. You can meet people at parties. You can talk to people. You can be social. You should do that. If you're thinking about going, make sure that you try to get into parties. It's easy. You can just kind of ask around. A lot of them are free. And again, that's just one of the best parts of it, because the rest of it you can watch online at the Bitcoin Magazine YouTube page. And then the other thing I wanted to hit on was there was a Prius that was sold for 1,000 Bitcoin that was there. There's a lot of auctions when you're there. There are art auctions that are really cool, Bitcoin-oriented auctions. There is a DeLorean. Bitcoin is the future DeLorean. And then there's the $27 million Prius. I think they called it the $49 million Prius when we were there, $48 million. It was sold for 1,000 Bitcoin from a Bitcoin developer. They bought it. So they spent 1,000 Bitcoin, and it was kind of a big moment because it showed that there's actually people out there that want to transact in Bitcoin. So it was a big step for Bitcoin moving forward to buy something substantial with it. And it was not just like Fugazi money. So that was kind of a cool moment. But that's one of those times where you realize with something so scarce like that, you do want to hold on to it. Now, I'm sure the Bitcoin developer had other Bitcoin. They're probably still really wealthy. But you can see that with like the Bitcoin pizzas too. The people that spent money, I forgot what it is, like tens of millions of dollars on pizza as well through Domino's. Jack Muller's described it as there are only two things in this life that are truly scarce: time and then Bitcoin. So when you have an item like that, you want to hold on to it. He says that he'll never sell. So just remember that, with something that's scarce, something that can't be made more of, that you do want to hold on to it. It's one of the only things that can't have more made of it. So those are my takeaways. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will be back to the normal videos in the office most likely tomorrow. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.